Were you talking about for life and your character comes out to the audience
Mhm.
as gay. I mean, I wonder what it's like just mentally and emotionally preparing as a straight man to prepare to play somebody gay and to make that feel really honest and the audience has to believe you.
Right.
And we know who your wife is. She's a star. We love her,
Mhm.
on our own. And you're like, no, I want you to believe this. So how do you make that convincing?
I mean, love is love, and more often than not, as actors, I mean, what I look for in a character is what drives them, and usually what drives most people is love or the quest for love, lost love, like that's like the core of every character that kind of, that's usually where I start. And so, that's something that's a universal theme. Like we can, heterosexual, homosexual, you identify with that, with knowing what that is, I mean, so I think that when you place those realities in that situation, you push that forward. It doesn't make it. It's not like the guy is a character from Pose or something like that, where it's like a humongous leap in terms of it's just he's a man who is attracted to another man who's in love with another man, and that man is not in prison with him, and so that's really was the easiest thing for me. That aspect was easy. What was tough was trying to keep people to hold the writers at bay to keep them from like you know giving away the secret too soon. And a lot of things that they wanted to do, we had to kind of pull back every now and again.
It's interesting you said that for every character, the first core of them emotionally is where they are with love. Like talk about that just in terms of your general process, right? It sounds like you sort of look at the script and you say, what is their relationship to love? Is that kind of how you start to figure out the character?
Yeah, because I mean, it's what drives me, and so it's the thing that I can hook into as Dorian, as a human being. I can hook into a character that way when I lead with that, and then I build around it, because it's not. I think, and that's what humanizes a lot of characters, because I think a lot of times people approach things as like a stock character, or just like they allow the situation to inform who the person is more than the person in the situation, if that makes any sense. Uh,
Yeah.
and so, yeah, that I feel like we're all driven by that, whether we admit it or not. A lot of times, I did a little bit of anger management because that's something that I've had to work on in my life. And one of the things that I discovered in that moment was that a lot of times what I would showcase as anger was really just hurt, and it was because I felt like someone wasn't loving me enough, or I felt unloved at that moment, even if it was by a stranger, so you have to realize that. And then you realize how powerful that is, and how powerful that, especially for young Black men who didn't have love, we don't grow up in a loving society. And so we approach the world with this bravado, but it's really just little boys lost with no love, and when you're able to get to the bottom of that, whether that character admits it to himself or not, that's another level that you have to decide. But that to me is like that's the hook, and then you just build from there.
Yeah, definitely true for a lot of younger Black boys, even into their teenage years. What is prized in the home, out of the home, is strength of physical and emotional strength, and showing how cool you can be, not vulnerability, not love, not certainly not humility, and that shapes who we become.
Right. Definitely. Definitely. I mean, we're I think that we're on a search for that, and it's just we've been taught different ways in which to express that and to show it. I mean, it's interesting the bravado that we have, growing up on the block, that like it's nothing to cry when one of your homeboys dies, man. You know what I'm saying? It's nothing. Like that's cool to cats, you know what I'm saying? But if your lady leaves you, man, nobody wants to see you cry. It's crazy. It's crazy, like it's just the way that we're brought up, so it's not that we're not allowed to have emotions. It's just like we're kind of taught to kind of target that emotion and use it in different ways, but it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And so once you're able to kind of get a hold of that, you can control your life in a lot of ways. And it's like a fire. It can either burn the house down or it can keep you warm, depending on how you use it. And so that helps me with every character.
Where did you grow up? What was your home life like?
Man, I kind of grew up a little bit everywhere. I was born in New Jersey, so I lived there for years, and then moved to Brooklyn, then moved to Atlanta, then moved back to Brooklyn.
Where in Brooklyn? I'm in Brooklyn.
Bed-Stuy. Yeah, I've seen
Okay,
you.
I'm in Fort Greene.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm in Fort Greene.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I used to live in Clinton Hill though too, as well. I lived in Clinton Hill for a long time on St. James.
right next to us in Fort Greene, no doubt.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I see you on the block every now
There
and
you go.
again. But yeah, and then Atlanta, which was you know, something that a lot of black folks did, which is where a lot
Yep.
of my family still is. Made that move down there for a little while, and then once I finished high school, I came back.
When we say, were you in the hood in Jersey and in Bed-Stuy and all that?
Looking back, I guess I was, but at the time, it didn't feel that way. Like because I always knew kids who were off worse in worse situations than I was.
Yeah,
I always had
yeah.
lights, always had food, always had. I didn't realize that there was even an even better way to live growing
Did
up.
you have a father?
Yeah, my dad, he passed away. It's been 3 years now, 4 years now.
Oh, sorry to hear
Um,
that.
no, thanks. But yeah, he was part of my life, you know, up until about age 12. And then things got a little sketchy. It was an addiction issue and he was in the streets and that whole thing. So he kind of disappeared for a while. And then, I had some stepfathers. My mother was married 3 times. One of them wasn't the greatest. One was quite abusive, actually, towards me. And so that shaped me as a man, quite a bit. Shaped me as a man.
The expectation of violence coming towards you.
Uh, yeah, and then also kind of taught me that I was what I was built of. He built out of. My father, when he was around, was very influential on me and a very hands-on dad. And I come from West Indian background, so it's my family's Bahamian, and I'm the first generation in the States. So there's a lot that comes along with that in terms of like expectations on manhood. And then the guy who my mother married the second time around was African American athlete, kind of been coddled his whole life. And I realized that I had an opportunity to become a man sooner than he did. Like more, I was given them more of an opportunity because no one was coddling me my whole life. When you're an athlete, they make sure everything, people do your homework for you. If you get pulled over by the cops, they might let you go. There's just like, you're not ever expected to live a man's life. And I think he was intimidated by that when when we met, when my mother married him, and for him to see a young boy who held him, who was able to stand on his own too, I think was kind of tough for him. But that taught me a lot about myself and about how people respond to you when they can't deal with your personality.
Mm, So were you fighting back with him, or?
Yeah, it's so this is hilarious. This is years of therapy before I could even call it abuse, because I would have told you I just fought the dude. I lost every single fight, but it was a fight nonetheless. I punched back. I just never won. So and so somebody like one time brought it to my attention. They were like, "Yo, that's abuse. That's technically abuse, man. You were bullied." And I was
He's
like,
a man and you're a teenager. Like, that's not a fight. That's abuse.
yeah, but to me, I was just like, yeah, I used to fight that dude all the time, man. And I thought one day I was going to win. It just never, I never got to that place.
So how does that continue to weigh on you when you like, now I know what that was?
Well, it explains a lot about, like I said, it goes back to the whole thing about the bravado and the braggadocio attitude that we as black men are oftentimes told to have, and I know what it's like to live in fear, and I knew what that did to me when I went outside into the street, because what I figured no one, if this guy, because he was 6'9", 300 some pounds, if this dude couldn't scare me or kill me, I didn't have any fears about anybody that I encountered outside of the house, but then I also harbored a lot of anger. And so if I did get into a confrontation, it would go from 0 to 100 way faster than the average human being. And I carried that throughout most of my life, throughout most of my 20s and my early 30s. And then you realize, listen, man, this is not a way to navigate through the world. And costs you legal fees and all kinds of things. And this is not something that you want to do, especially considering the career that I have. That's the beautiful thing about acting is you have an opportunity to use that as an outlet and push that energy out into the world, and you're applauded for it. But you got to go somewhere and deal with it. You got to put it somewhere.